Hello everyone, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome to a video that I didn't quite expect to put out this week. Of course, different layout, different format, mostly because we aren't talking about anything lore related, but more so some really big and huge news that I can't really avoid talking about, nor is it something I believe should be overlooked. Now, for those of you who are out the loop or don't really read titles, over the last 24 to 48 hours, we've had some pretty big news regarding the state of Mortal Kombat 1, and how its development cycle may have completely finished. Now, just before we do get the ball rolling here, I do want to state that this isn't from an official source. This isn't word from NetherRealm, nor is it word from Warner Brothers itself, but the source of this information has had a pretty reliable track record and history, roughly about 70 to 30 to 80 to 20. So take what you will with this information, but this is definitely quite a reliable figure. Now, for those unaware, according to Fates Unknown, Chaos Reigns didn't sell nearly as well as they had expected. Thus, because of this, it looks like NetherRealm's parent company, Warner Brothers, has officially decided to cut development for the rest of MK1, as well as any future DLC packs or content expansions. And honestly, I did actually kind of see this coming. Whilst it's kind of impossible right now to know how well Chaos Reigns sold, as there aren't really any statistics out there that I can pull from. This is the first time NetherRealm have ever done a DLC expansion where news like this has come out, as they normally do fairly well for the most part. But it now of course does beg the question as to why this has been done. Well, I think there's a number of different factors that are very clear, even from a surface level. The first and the most obvious is getting two MK games back to back. Now look, as you know, I love Mortal Kombat. I've been covering the series on my channel for a very long amount of time, but I don't think we've had enough reprieve between MK11 to 1 to kind of incentivize another MK game so soon. Does that necessarily mean I want another Injustice? Not particularly, but I really do think we've had an overexposure and oversaturation to the medium. Because think about it, right? Since 2019, we've had 2 MK games, 5 DLC pack spin-offs, 2 live-action movies, with one of them, of course, in production, 4 live-action movies, 1 mobile game that has been cancelled. That's a lot to consume in a very short amount of time. And I think what a lot of us are feeling currently is fatigue, disinterest because of the oversaturation and exposure. But I also think that another contributing factor has been the quality of products. As you guys know, I do like Mortal Kombat 1, I like a lot of different aspects of it, but in comparison to the quality of NetherRealm's prior projects, this has absolutely been a step back. As you know, last year I only reviewed the story mode because I didn't feel like the game had enough meat on the bones for me to really give it a full review. And whilst yes, a lot of those issues have been patched, a lot of those issues have been fixed, it's taken a year for Mortal Kombat 1 to essentially feel like a full-priced game. And even then, to get the most out of the product, you gotta buy the first season pass, the second season pass that comes with the story expansion. I don't know how much that costs, but I'm sure I have it over here. My point is that it's a big ask for a game with very minimal content. And that's the issue with Mortal Kombat 1. It is a huge step back in a lot of different areas, because the game has less overall customization, the game has less overall game modes, the game lacks a crypt, and it feels very much so robbed of a lot of its core identity that people had asked for. But why so that is the case? Well, from its year 1 expansion, it is very clear that Mortal Kombat 1 is a product of what I would deem live service patch culture, where you ship the game out earlier than it should and then repair it later down the line. And this is a practice that I have fucking hated for the last few years. And it only just felt like a spit in the eye when they decided to monetize the game with Dragon Crystals. Mortal Kombat 1 is very clearly a product forced out the door by executives in order to meet a deadline. And honest to God, it wouldn't surprise me if the team suffered from a little bit of that toxic positivity, because it's Mortal Kombat sells, right? Look at this, you're gonna buy this, right? It's Mortal Kombat, right? But evidently that hasn't been the case. And I will say, for the most part, whilst I like Mortal Kombat 1, I am kind of proud of you guys. You guys spoke with your wallets. But with that in mind, what's next? Well, we did have a earnings financial call about 2 weeks ago, discussing what the future of the series would be, as well as Warner Brothers, with them saying that their main focus moving forward would be Hogwarts Legacy, Game of Thrones, the DC universe, and of course, Mortal Kombat. So with that in mind, it entails the question of, is the next NetherRealm game going to be Injustice 3, or Mortal Kombat 2? Well, with all hands on deck for DC's soft relaunch, I do strongly suspect we'll get another Mortal Kombat again soon. Just hopefully this time with enough time and funding behind it, instead of something rushed out the door. But even so, as I pointed out earlier, I don't know if this is the best answer right away. Because as I pointed out, we've had a heavy, and I mean a heavy amount of exposure to MK. And I love MK, I like getting good media for MK. But that's the thing, we haven't been getting good media for MK. Mortal Kombat's had a lot of problems and issues that have evidently become a lot more transparent over the last few years. So honest to God, this isn't something new to me, but it just makes that red writing on the wall that much more glaring. And actually, whilst I was in the middle of making this video, we do have another report from Fates Unknown, which does say the following here. Hello, you may have seen recently I gave the news that MK1 DLC has been cancelled. This has been spread further than the MK community and I don't want the attention, so I'm stepping away from leaking. I was going to stay around until Conan and T1000 were done, but I'm going to end it now. I'll have no info on future NRS games. For my final post, here is further information about the cancelled DLC. First, Chaos Reign sales were not only the reason. There were multiple reasons the team were pushed to move on, but the sales were just the big reason. The NRS team really wanted to do the DLC and are not happy about it, but they have no choice. Second, I don't know what the story stuff would have been. It did not make it far enough for me to learn anything about details. Sorry. Third, the final Kombat pack was meant to be 6 characters, 5 MK and 1 guest. Less guests due to a lot of reasons, but mostly as a thank you to the MK fans for sticking with the game. The MK characters were Jade, Cassie, Kung Jin, Sonya, and Kano. I do not know the guest, but I'm told they wanted to get a highly requested character. So it should be pretty evident and very clear that after that financial call, it looks like since Chaos Reigns did not sell very well, WB were like, cutting the plug, even if you don't like it. I know that there's currently a lot of finger pointing at Warner Brothers, NRS, and then Ed Boon, especially seeing as Ed has gone down historically saying that this would be the longest supported MK game. But with the very clear cuts that have been going on here, I'm not surprised that that has changed. But you gotta look at NRS as the equivalent of kind of being an employee under a giant conglomerate. And if Warner Brothers do not see the financial gain in it, they're gonna cut the funding. That is where we are right now. And whilst I definitely do not believe that NetherRealm are above criticism, especially with the many bugs and issues with this game since release, I think it's worth being fair to point out where they have gone wrong and where they haven't gone wrong. Because it's pretty evident that there's a lot of different fingers in the pie right now that are interfering with the game, looking at it more as an investment than what it actually is. As for the supposed story, that was kind of to be expected, and honestly, if it dealt with more of the multiverse stuff, I'm personally okay with them just letting that go. As for the contents of Kombat Pack 3, this one I can't say I'm too surprised about, because I myself have heard from the inside grapevine that Sonya and Jade were definitely very strong contenders. Plus, I will say the validity of this Kombat Pack is pretty strong. I honestly can't say it's a very impressive combat pack, but it's definitely a very safe and legacy-based one, which is inherently very good. But yeah, just kind of all in all, the situation's just so fucking messy. Because it feels like there's a torn want between what the studio wants, what the fans want, and then what the executives want. No one looks to be winning here, if I'm honest. With that said, this kind of largely sums everything up. I don't cover leaks, I don't normally like covering leaks, nor do I touch on these sort of topics. But again, it was just kind of impossible to miss, and I don't ever really touch on this stuff unless I believe there is some validity to it. So yeah, this kind of sums everything up. I hope that going forward, we maybe get something a little bit else than just another MK again. But I do think we need a break from all of the really crazy, heavy Mortal Kombat oversaturation. I think it's getting to us all a bit, and again, some reprieve would be quite nice here. But yeah, down in the comments below, let me know what you currently think is going on here. Do you believe there is some validity? What are your thoughts on this supposed Kombat Pack 3? But for now, everyone, that's been it for me. We'll be going back to our normal lore-based content later on this week. But please do take care, and hopefully I'll catch you soon.